And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's start off with our friend Keith at the Boise Bench. Keith, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Yes, I had a few things to say about how hard it is to clean the swamp. First of all, I happily voted for Donald Trump, and the way whenever the swamp attacks him, he hits back twice as hard. That's why we voted for him. And the swamp, they don't get that. They're so egotistical, and they think they're going to win every battle. And of course, we hope they're not. But there's a whole bunch of people out across this country that support Donald Trump and everything. And what we like, he's a patriot, he's a Christian, he's a capitalist, he's America. We love him. And, my background is, terrible, but in the early 90s when I was dating, I dated one lady here in Idaho, and she was a bigwig in the Idaho Democrat Party. So I had the misfortune of going to one of their get-togethers, and I didn't agree with anything any of those people said. And then she told me, well, don't you know that this is what she said. I'm a card-carrying member of the American Communist Party, a card-carrying member of the American Communist Party. And many of us here in this room are that way. And I was horrified.
Wait a minute, and this was a Republican?
No, an Idaho Democrat, lady.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's when I learned, and I got to talking to all these people, and they were all just like her. They all wanted to be bureaucrats like Hillary Clinton. Whereas Donald Trump, he loves plumbers, electricians, people that actually do something. So as I got to know these Democrats here in Idaho, none of them were capable of doing it. They couldn't fix their own cars. They didn't know how to fix their own houses. They esteem to be Democrats. And so when I saw Hillary Clinton, to me, she's just a bureaucrat that doesn't know how to do anything. And it gets worse. She's so physically feeble, she can barely even get through a day without collapsing. And Donald Trump, look at him. And he's 70-plus years old and strong as all get out. So Donald Trump's our hero. And we got a lot of people out there across this country that support that guy. And if push ever comes to shove, maybe he'll just hire a whole bunch of Wyatt Earps and Doc Hollidays to finally clean the swamp. But until then, let's hope it doesn't come to that. But until then, these poor guys like Trey Gowdy, he has to get up there and try to convince these swamp people, mostly Democrats, to do the right thing. And they're never going to do the right thing, because what I learned from my Idaho Democrat communists was they hate this country, hate it. And so, boy, Trey Gowdy has got his work cut out for him. And again, we love the way Donald Trump is super tough and sticks it to him every day.
Well, they do hate this country, and they've hated this country for years, and they've done their very best to undermine our great nation. We see it all the time with how they've taken prayer out of school, how they've turned our heroes into villains. They have to be stopped, and our last best chance is Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, he's my guy. I got lots of friends that just love him, and we love the fact that he wants to put people back to work so that people can have the satisfaction of a job well done every day. And blue collar supporter, we love this guy. And I don't think the swamp Democrats will ever give Donald Trump a break, not even once. So he's got to hire himself a whole posse of Wyatt Earps to get this job done. And let's hope he does.
Keith, thank you for the call.
All right, have a good day.
You too. Appreciate you listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, Doug Jones, the winner out of Alabama, he had this to say to Savannah Guthrie. You'll notice the softballs being thrown to Mr. Jones.
Your opponent, Roy Moore, who, as we just saw, has not yet conceded. I presume he hasn't called you this morning. He said they still need to count provisional ballots, military ballots. If you could talk to him right now, what would you say? I don't need to tell you how extraordinary this victory was. You come from Alabama, about as Republican a state as they come, and you are a Democrat. So forgive me for being so direct. Do you think the voters there voted for you or against Roy Moore? I know that the president called you and you said that he had congratulated you. Again, you come from a Republican state, a state that still has 48% approval for President Trump, which is higher than the national average. Are there some areas you can work with President Trump, and what would those be? I mean, you heard Senator Schumer, the Democratic leader in the Senate, wants Republicans to not vote on tax reform till you get there and you can cast a vote. Just quickly, do you agree with that? Do you think they should wait?
From our friends at Newsbusters, talk about loaded questions. Loaded questions from the media. People don't like the media, and that's the reason why. You know what I mean? We'll take your calls in a minute. Do want to remind you, Tuesday, it is the Kevin Miller Christmas party. We would love for you to join us. We would love for you to come down and have a good time. Just RSVP. I think we have 2 people coming right now, which is great. We have Tea Party Bob and we have Bruce. And we look forward to more people. We'll run it from 6 to 9 a.m. And first come, first serve. Doesn't cost anything. But again, I need to know how many people are coming so I can coordinate with the Broadcast Center Intelligentsia. We go to Joby in Meridian with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. I've been wondering where you've been.
Top of the morning, Kevin, and good morning, Idaho. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, I've had to do some travel outside of the Treasure Valley to experience what this great country has to offer and spread cheer and wonderment along the land. And so happen to be back in the Treasure Valley for this wonderful weekend. My girls have a dance recital tonight, so I am just super duper excited. So sorry I haven't been calling in, but time zone changes and those kinds of things just make it a little difficult.
Indeed. Well, we'll accept your written excuse on that one.
Appreciate it. And as everybody knows, it's that wonderful time of the year. There's a chill in the air. There are Christmas lights up on homes. Some people have really great displays. Some people choose to do the minimalist thing, which I support either and or. And in traveling, have met some wonderful folks and hear some of that mumble grumble and those kinds of things. And it's great that our country has become what it has become. And I think a lot of the change that a lot of folks are saying is negative and not good actually is positive, because people are actually expressing themselves in a little bit more thoughtful ways right now. It's not the slam bam, just because you are who you are and I'm just going to yell and scream at you. I've actually had some decent intellectual conversations with folks, and no one's called names and no one has ridiculed, which I think is fantastic. Now, what we see out there, right, in the media, excluding our lovely K580 and 107.5 KIDO, is people want to drive a narrative that they think is going to drive up ratings, which is, well, it's money, so you got to look at it that way. But those folks obviously want to drive ratings, so they're going to slant their view. But folks really do want to have conversations. Folks want to talk about issues, and that's what makes our country great. And I'm so super happy that is not changing.
Well, it's good to have you back.
It's good to be back. Hopefully I'll be back on a permanent basis January, February timeframe. We'll just have to see how that goes.
I see. I'm trying to think if we have anything else for you, young man.
Well, for those, so when's you just mentioned about 6 to 9 and
the Christmas party's Tuesday.
Control Central.
Tuesday morning.
Tuesday. Oh, okay. Well, if I can be here, obviously I will.
Well, you're invited.
We'll just have to see how that goes. Thank you very much. And for a treat, as everyone knows, I come from the Bayous of Louisiana, and I will be having a reading of the Cajun Night Before Christmas, probably tomorrow afternoon. So anybody who wants to come and experience some of that culture from South Louisiana, they are more than welcome.
Well, where are you going to be?
I'll send you the details.
Okay, fair enough. Joby, great to talk to you. Glad you're back.
As you, sir, thank you very much. Have a great day. God bless, and bye-bye.
580-5436. 580-KIDO. Coming up, much more on net neutrality. What does this really mean? The Republicans say it's a good thing. The Democrats say it's a bad thing. However, people are buzzing about The Last Jedi, because really what we need more in life are more distractions. So as we stumble through our daily wake-up call, let's give you your Miller Morning Montage.
We would be honored if you would join us.
It's the greatest movie in the world.
It was a lot more unexpected than I thought.
It was amazing.
It was better than good. It was better than good. A lot different than the ones we used to watch when we were younger.
It was amazing. I'm just blown away. I don't want to give anything away. I'm just, man, that was a spectacular film.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
It's a really good movie. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's really good.
I would say that this particular Star Wars movie has a lot more hope.
What do you see? Light. A balance. It's so much bigger.
It exceeded all expectations. I can't even lie.
Can't wait for the next one.
It's time for the Jedi
I'm ready to see it again.
to end.
And there we have it. If you're just waking up, no, the Soviets, the Russians, the North Koreans haven't taken over. That was a montage from Star Wars last night, the Miller Morning Montage. Kevin Miller with you here, taking your calls. We go to Doug in Mountain Home. Good morning, Doug.
Morning, Kevin. Hey, yesterday I talked to you when that gal, that representative lady from Salmon called. And anyway, have you ever heard of that a thing called Agenda 21, Kevin?
Many times.
Many times? Okay, that's what I was wanting to know. And there's a magazine called Range Magazine, really good magazine. I used to get it in the mail, and I buy it now every once in a while in Walmart. And it has a whole bunch of stuff in here. They've been keeping up with it, and that's where I get a lot of my information, and from talk radio. So I just thought I'd ask if you knew anything about that agenda.
Usually when we talk Agenda 21, we have a young man by the name of Tommy Munns. We call him Frisky Tom. He'll give us the complete history of Agenda 21 and link it to what's going on in schools and everything else.
Okay.
But, it really comes down to, we talk about this all the time, is just waking up the local officials and those having the guts to do anything about it, like Representative Moon.
Yeah. But the people, it's our voice, too, Kevin. I mean, if you're silent, nothing's ever going to come about except they'll just keep taking your freedom.
Well, you know what they say, silence is consent, yes.
Yeah, it is. And I get too radical at times, I guess, because I don't know how to speak real well and be elegant with it. And I'm going on 62, and I've seen so many of my freedoms already taken away that I don't like it. I can't swallow any more of it. I'll let you go. I really appreciate the show. All right?
Well, Doug, we appreciate you. And look, I don't talk well at all either, so you're right in the same company.
Yeah. Well, you do good that's why I listen to the radio.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you,
All
brother.
right. God bless you.
God bless you, Doug.
Okay,
bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
I think they're in a lose-lose situation. If they don't pass the bill, they lose because you know what they've said about their donors are not going to answer their calls anymore if they don't pass the bill. So they lose in that regard. If they do pass the bill, they'll lose in the court of public opinion, and we have to hold them accountable.
We all voted for it when it passed the House a few weeks ago. We're gonna vote for it. I think almost all our guys will be voting for it next week.
There we have it. Nancy Pelosi on the new tax reform bill, and Jim Jordan as well. We'll take your calls next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, I'm so excited that we're on the cusp of this great accomplishment. And if Congress acts by Christmas, people are going to see gains very soon. As the president announced yesterday, if tax reform passes, taxpayers will see more money in their paychecks beginning in February. Withholding tables will reflect that.
And there we have it. Paul Ryan, rumor is that he will resign or retire after the 2018 cycle. Maybe he'll run for president. But he said he's done with Washington. He never wanted to be Speaker of the House. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, does this present an opportunity for Congressman Labrador, already running for governor? Would you support him if he were the Speaker of the House? Remember, he has been a thorn in the side of the establishment for quite some time. That's one issue we're talking about. And then you have your nice people, you have your naughty people, and then you have your Grinches.
They're not getting away with it. As you see, the American people are paying attention. They know, and they are 2-1 coming out against it. But nonetheless, that doesn't stop the Republicans from doing what is in their DNA, tax cuts for the rich. That's their purpose.
There we have it, tax cuts for the rich. Of course, when everybody gets that more money back and they spend it or they save it, well, then what's Nancy Pelosi going to say? It's a good thing?
It's daylight robbery. In every iteration, the GOP tax scam becomes even more cowardly, outrageous, dishonest, brazen theft.
You know, sometimes when you're talking to people, I don't know if you get this, it's just all negative, and you think to yourself, okay, I've got enough challenges of my own. I've got enough issues of my own. Do I really want to hear this? Probably not. I've got enough things to do. You know, just some of those folks that are Debbie Downers. To me, Nancy Pelosi strikes me as a Debbie Downer. We go to Peg in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Peg.
Yes, sir. I was listening to your station this morning about the violence in Chicago and that city, I think, council member, when he said something, there'd been Donald Trump had offered to send National Guard troops in to help clear the streets. I hope I misunderstood this. Did he say bring troops in from the United Nations? Now, that's what I thought I heard. Or did he say the United States?
Well, there was a story that has been floated around, whether it's on KIDO Talk Radio or on the Internet or what have you, Peg, where people were talking about the United Nations are so concerned about what's going on in Chicago that they wanted to do something about it and bring their own troops in. I do not think that the President of the United States would ever authorize that or even say that jokingly. It's the situation in Chicago is so bad that something needs to be done about it. Here's the skinny on this, and this is from CBS Chicago. You've got some politicians have recommended deploying the National Guard in Chicago, but now you've got a Cook County Commissioner, Richard Boykin, yesterday suggesting the United Nations send in peacekeepers in the face of what he called quiet genocide.
I'm trying to chew that down. Nah, I think I'll just spit it out. Let's go. We do not need the United Nations here. We are the United States, and I'm quite sure our president will not let them come in, but the people will not let them come in. That place is a war zone. We know it is. There are people, multitudes of people dying every day, a lot of them innocent. It needs cleaned up. I don't have a solution. Maybe the National Guard is it, but this should not be happening in America. We are Americans. The rest of the world, I guess we all live in a global society now, and probably, please pardon me for saying global, but this is our country. And I am probably an old broad. I like my country. I love my country. I don't need anybody coming in here to tell me how to run it, especially the United Nations, when they've had such sterling luck being peacekeepers all over the world. And anything they touch, it turns to bullcrap. And I'm just, I guess I'm just too old, and I can't believe I'm hearing that in my America.
Peg, thank you for the call, and duly noted.
Thank you.
KIDO Talk Radio, time for traffic and Kevin Miller in the morning here as we continue on. Why don't we revisit that? We'll take a look at what's going on in Chicago and the United Nations, and we thank Peg for bringing that up. But we are talking taxes, and back to Nancy Pelosi.
Theft from middle-class families, giving money from them to the richest people in our country and to corporations. It's a monumental con job.
Right. Does she ever like anything? I mean, remember, this is the person that defended Congressman Conyers before he had to go because of the sexual harassment settlements and everything else. Wouldn't it be nice if you would just have Nancy Pelosi just being happy? Happy about something? You know, what do you do? It's better than doing nothing, right? By the way, one Republican is not on board. Shocking.
Unless they can figure out a way to add to the 1,100 figure, I won't support the bill.
That is Senator Rubio.
If it's higher than 1,100 in a real way, then, well, no, it's a positive response. And if it's not, I would assume they don't need my vote.
Wow. So there we have it. As you've heard from Fox News here at KIDO Talk Radio, even Mike Pence, who's scheduled to go somewhere on a little trip, has decided to stay here just in case his vote is needed. You've got John McCain on injured reserve. You've got some other senators that are down but not out. And we might not get tax reform. And, of course, what are they going to do? They're going to blame the president, which is silly, is ridiculous. We've all got to come together and continue to make America great again. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. In another segment of We Call, thank goodness we live in Idaho. Here's what possibly is going on in Chicago. Now, again, I don't think this is very serious, but when you have an elected official, as Peg had told us, calling for people to bring in the UN, maybe it's time to look at it.
Common in Chicago, police investigating a shooting here.
And heavily armed United Nations peacekeepers operating in some of the most dangerous corners of the earth. Now there's a push to bring them here. Good evening, I'm Rob Johnson.
And I'm Erica Sargent. A Cook County commissioner wants to get the peacekeepers to Chicago to battle our violence problem.
But it would be an unusual move. Consider this from a UN promotional video. Peacekeepers often operate in hostile environments where others cannot or will not go.
CBS 2 political reporter Derek Blakely picks up our story.
They've helped stop the fighting in war-torn.
Now remember, here at KIDO Talk Radio, this is from a Chicago TV station, CBS Chicago, but we're actually entertaining the idea of bringing in the UN to help the folks in Chicago.
We're in hotspots across the globe, from Syria to Sierra Leone. Now a Cook County commissioner is appealing for UN peacekeepers in Chicago's crime-ridden neighborhoods.
I know that there are those who say that this is an admission that we can't protect the people in the city, but quite frankly, we haven't protected them.
But one West Side alderman whose ward is plagued by violence rejects the military analogy.
This is not war. I mean, we may have some daunting statistics, but again, military intervention is not the answer.
Alderman Urban says it's...
Now, wait a minute again. This is the media coming up with a story. I guess they have to cover it. When an elected official says, hey, it's so bad, bring in the UN, then you go right to the 28th Ward and say, well, no, we don't need a military solution. This would not have happened a few years ago, but we're looking for society to solve the problems instead of the individuals.
Economic intervention, not a military one, that's needed to stop Chicago's violence, jobs, and investment. And Mayor Emanuel insists progress in crime-fighting technology and community policing is reducing shootings and killings in high-crime areas like Inglewood.
And for all of us that know what Inglewood has stood for before, it's different. And it's the residents saying it. It's not some social scientist saying it.
Tonight, after the meeting, Boykin said the Assistant Secretary General told him one circumstance under which he might come to Chicago.
There is a global study that the UN is working on regarding youth and violence. Once that is published, he said that he'd be delighted to receive my invitation to come and to talk about the contents of that study.
Now, according to Boykin, the Assistant Secretary General also said the U.S. mission at the UN could invite him to Chicago as well, but that is even more unlikely.
There we have it from CBS Chicago here at KIDO Talk Radio. So at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, the idea of bringing in the UN peacekeepers to Chicago. Now, remember, President Trump had this to say before from our own Mike Cantor.
Chicago.
Mayor Rahm Emanuel had turned down President Trump's plans to send the National Guard to patrol the city, but Cook County Commissioner Richard Boykin is in New York asking the United Nations to send peacekeeping forces into violence-torn parts of town.
I'm hoping to appeal to the UN to actually come to Chicago and meet with victims of violence and maybe even possibly help out in terms of peacekeeping efforts.
Boykin says he believes the UN is better prepared than the National Guard to handle the situation in the city, which has one of the highest murder rates in the nation. Mike Cantor, Fox News.
There we have it. So why not bring in the United Nations? Oh, could you see that? And there you have Hillary Clinton leading the charge. Now, again, we're being facetious here. I mean, you'd have Tom Munz talking about Agenda 21. I know we're being facetious here, but only in Chicago. And remember, of course, who was the king of Chicago? You remember the idea where President Obama praised the folks in Chicago. And what did the media do? They gave the great one a pass. They said, you know something, we're going to ignore what happens in Chicago. We're going to ignore what happens in everywhere else. We're just going to live and let live and have a good time, right? I mean, think about that. Here you have major outlets giving a pass to more murders that have happened in Chicago than anywhere else. And now you've got it so bad that it wasn't the President of the United States. It wasn't somebody else outside of Chicago. But it was simply a local official. A local official saying, we need help. We can't do it. We need this issue. So there you have it. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Other people talking more about Alabama as well. These states could be the next Alabama. According to CNN, we're talking about Arizona. You're talking about Nevada. And here we go with the wound still fresh from a bruising Senate special election in Alabama. Party strategists have begun to refocus on a slew of potential messy party primaries next year, where the challenge of recruiting and elevating candidates who can win a general election is now more urgent than ever. And, of course, you have the liberal media, as we talked a little bit about, celebrating what happened in Alabama, that the Republicans lost. Look, the Republicans were going to lose anyway. If Judge Moore had been elected, and if he wins his fight to be elected, then it's the Republicans are the party of the sexual harassers. The Republicans are the party of the bad people. The Republicans are the party, and then we've got to get rid of Roy Moore. Let's not talk tax reform. Let's not talk overhauling the tax code. Let's not talk about doing the real-life good work of the people. Instead, we're going to sit there and focus in on Judge Moore. Okay? That's one. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The Republicans lose, and what happens next? Well, then we have, it's over for the look at Virginia. Well, Virginia is always a bellwether state, back and forth, and it's tough for a Republican to win when you allow felons to vote, as the governor of Virginia did, as the folks in Alabama did. They allowed the criminals to vote. And, of course, it had something to do with what they call moral turpitude, whatever that means. And the moral turpitude of it is it wasn't supposed to be felons who voted, just people that were convicted of misdemeanors. However, things got a little messy, and you can't tell me that that didn't cause Judge Moore to lose, right? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So, building upon that, Judge Moore is fighting the fight, and we continue on. That's one issue. On the other hand, to say that it's going to go to Arizona or Nevada or anywhere else, that's wishful thinking. You've got the Republicans doing a tax form bill that is going to revolutionize things. The economy is rolling. The only time they seem to win is when they have these divisive issues, which, again, they learned from former President Obama. Other big news of the day, could your Netflix all of a sudden get a little slower? The Federal Communications Commission, the commission that actually has oversight onto the public airwaves, that has a license to this station, and we go to the FCC to renew our license for public service year after year, has repealed net neutrality yesterday. And with repeal comes lots of criticism, particularly from folks like U.S. Telecom CEO Jonathan Spalter. He says he's for the new changes, saying the Internet will be regulated, just no longer by the government. That's right, because let's face it, who would you rather trust? The godless mega corporations or the non-thinking government bureaucrats?
The benefits that we're going to start to see will be, more investment that's going to immediately start flowing into our networks by our broadband providers that have more confidence that they can invest without the stranglehold of all kinds of rules and regulations and obstacles that were imposed by the last FCC. Our internet is going to stay just as strong and as healthy tomorrow as it was yesterday. There was the vote. I turned on my internet and I started doing some shopping online for my family, and I had a full open internet, and net neutrality existed on my smartphone this afternoon, and it's going to do so tomorrow.
There we have it. Everything's wonderful. Let's start with Tom in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Kevin. Question: has anybody in the media looked at how many of the write-in or the mailed-in ballots, I don't know what the official name for them is, which was supposed to be very large compared to most elections this time, the out-of-state military that sent in their ballot, have they been lost? And how many of the write-in ballots, or mailed-in ballots, are from dead people? Has anybody been keeping track of that? Because Jones might have done very well in the cemetery vote. I know Chicago elections are often decided by that, so I'm wondering if the Alabama elections were also decided by the cemetery vote.
Indeed.
That might be something worth looking into, because, well, Democrats, Chicago, the fact that they want to bring the National Guard, or not the National Guard, but the UN into Chicago, I think both of them deserve each other.
The UN and Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago and the UN, given the history of abuses by UN peacekeepers to native populations, and the fact that I think Chicago will eat the UN alive, good grief. That is the silliest thing I think a politician has said in at least 2 weeks. And that's saying something.
Exactly.
Good grief. These guys are insane. They are out of their mind, crazy.
They're saying it with a straight face.
Like I said, they're crazy. Has anybody thought about maybe having a sanity test being a prerequisite before you get on the ballot? That might screen out a lot of the potential lunatics getting elected. Oh, God. It's taken over the asylum, honestly.
Well, that's why
I got to get out of here, man. You got to get back to work and talk to people that actually know what they're saying.
Oh, no, Tom. Thank you, brother.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's go to Jim in Star with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim. By the way, Jim is available on Twitter at Top Jimmy. You can follow him and read about his exciting takes on the news of the day. Good morning, sir.
Wow, what an intro. That's the real Top Jimmy, by the way. The real Top Jimmy.
Sure.
On Twitter.
All right.
Gosh, I've been thinking about just closing that account, man. I mean, it's just great. The whole social media world is so crazy. I've never had a Facebook account or any of that nonsense. I'll tell you, it's just nuts. But I got a question for you, man. And this one is all serious. No shtick. No kidding around. For years, I've just watched these brawls that happen at fast food restaurants, and the news covers them quite a bit, and a lot of different websites really cater to the footage of what goes down. And you've lived all over the country. You've been in other areas. What do you think is the missing link that we haven't figured out yet as to why this particular group of individuals, about 90% of it is female, and they happen to be of African American backgrounds, and they beat the living you-know-what out of each other because their orders aren't right, or they got minus the chicken McNugget, or their fries are too cold. I mean, this latest one that's on the news in Minnesota, I mean, it's crazy, Kevin. There's like 20 people just beating the tar out of each other all over some food. What's your take on that, man? Why is that happening?
I really don't paint with a broad brush, Jim, so I couldn't tell you.
There's something different. There's something different about the culture. The black women in those kind of depressed, financially distressed areas, they are quick to violence, very quick to throw punches, pull hair, kick each other, rip people through the drive-through windows out into the ground. Something's up, man. It's weird, and I'm not wrong about this. If you go and do your research on it, you'll see it's predominantly the same people doing the same thing, and there's little kids, involved in stuff. And you've been all over the country. I just thought maybe you'd have a little Miller insight to it.
No, sorry, I'm disappointing you on this.
Yeah, that's okay. And I know it's a sensitive culture out there, and you say the wrong thing in a position of power like you have, and you can say it for all the right reasons, and then if they want to come after you, they do. On that point, I'll tell you, I had a great conversation with some ladies yesterday, and the backlash is already starting about all these, women saying that they were raped and they were molested and this and that. Those allegations need to be clearly defined, and just like these two ladies said to me, if they wanted to, they could make up whatever they want, point the finger at me, and being a male in this country, I would be immediately guilty, and I would be having to defend myself, even if I was completely innocent. The backlash is starting, because if women are talking about that already, that's what's coming around that corner.
Well, we appreciate your 2 cents, your thoughts on society and everything else.
Yeah, and I heard you're having a bash on Tuesday, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, there's no age restriction.
No.
I heard Tea Party Bob's coming, so just, had to put a little jab at him. Now, is Steve going to be there? Because if Steve's coming, I don't know if I could.
I've gotten an RSVP from 2 people so far, so it might be a short actually 3 people Christmas party, yes.
No, you always do that. You play it like, and then everybody and their brother shows up.
I see. All right.
Yeah. You're the humble guy. It's standing room only. When has it never been standing room only in there for your Christmas party?
Could be this year.
Oh, get out of here. Especially with the weather, if it stays good, I think you're going to have quite a few people in there, and who knows? Maybe someone will bring a cake with some on it.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Mike in Nampa on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Kevin. How are you doing, man?
Somehow I'm trying not to make everybody laugh or whatever. I just have this vision of people dancing when I hear that song. But anyway, I digress.
Well, I was just calling in about the Rahm Emanuel Chicago UN thing. During the election last year, when they were doing the body count of Chicago over the whole year and, breaking records and all that, I decided to do a little research. and look up, cross-reference basically the top 25 cities of crime rates compared to the governing parties of those states over the past 30 to 40 years. And I think the percentage rate of Democrat leftist-led governorships in those cities is like 90% or something like that. So there's a pattern. I'm not a party guy. I don't believe in the left or the right, but there's definitely a problem there and some sort of correlation between the two.
No, I agree. It's something has to be done, and at least if nothing else, this guy is getting a lot of attention. I don't think the solution is the powdered blue hats coming in, because once they're there, they're not going to leave.
Yeah, and their record of war crimes and basically decimating the indigenous population of the countries and cities they populate is pretty bad. So.
Well, Mike, thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio. We appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Kevin. God bless you, buddy.
God bless you. All right. Traffic and weather together. And I'm Kevin Miller here as we move along. We'll take more of your phone calls next. Also, we'll talk to Krista Huff, and we'll talk taxes. We'll talk money, and then we'll take more of your calls after we speak with her. If you're still on the line, you want to hold, great. If not, keep it here with us. We will get to you when you give us a call back. Phone number's here, 580-5436. 580-KIDO, and yes, we are having our Kevin Miller Christmas party, as we do every year. It will be Tuesday. Now, how do you go? Are there tickets? Is it VIP? Well, no, it's first come, first serve. Well, we don't really serve anything. What you have to do is what we request that you do. How about that? Let's just have a request, right? We have enough people giving us orders and the like. Just send me an email, Kevin at KIDO Talk Radio. That's Kevin at KIDO Talk Radio, and you'll be here. Fox News next. Stay with us. Stay informed on your home for the Big Fox on the radio. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.